to the Survive and Thrive Virtual Summit for Moms, specifically designed for moms who want to make money from home and grow their business to create time freedom. And it's a lot of pressure when having to deal with being the perfect mom and the perfect spouse and running a successful business. So we brought some great experts here for you. And today we have Miss Nicole Clark. She is author, blogger, and transformational coach. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Chelsea.
We're so happy to have you. I met Nicole on Facebook through a challenge of someone that we know that has helped people build big Facebook groups and pages and things like that. But I love your heart, Nicole. I love how you just share with a lot of moms on how to become better and to make yourself stronger and to realize the strength that you have. And I appreciate all that you do.
Thank you. I'm excited. It's just my pride and joy to help other people feel good about themselves.
Awesome. Okay, well, do you want to share a little bit about yourself and your background? I like to ask, what's your trial and triumph story, where it's kind of like, you know, where you rose up and overcame. So yeah, if you just want to tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. I'm a mother of 6 children, and usually when I say that, people immediately go, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, having a lot of children is not very easy. And for the first, I would say 15 years of that journey, no, it's been 17 years. So I would say for the first 10, 11 years of that journey, I was a stressed out hot mess, like all the time. Continually felt like I was not good enough. I was overwhelmed, exhausted, feeling like a failure, and just not loving it. I felt like I was like in this in-between zone of like occasional moments of pure bliss and joy, loving motherhood and finding so much excitement from it, versus this zombie mom that was a continual hot mess in the, you know, the hair bun, what do you call it, messy bun, and just feeling like I could barely survive. Like I was just in survival mode all the time. And we got married pretty young and started having children like right away. And then my husband went off to medical school and residency, and I didn't see him like very much at all during those days. And it was like me at home. We didn't have a second car, so it was just me at home with 5 little kids at that time, and just trying to make it through every day without wanting to like kill somebody or myself.
Yeah.
Like literally.
So were they pretty close in age?
Yes, I had the first 5 in 7 years.
Wow.
The first 7 years of our marriage. Well, I guess 8 years because, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so it was a really pretty stressful time. And then it came to a point where, I don't know about you guys, but I struggled with control, like wanting to control something in my life. And my body had changed quite a bit, having that many children, to the point where I hated it. Like I really despised my body, and I took out kind of all my anger on my body. I didn't like do any like bad things to it, but I did diet like a crazy woman. Like I became hangry all the time, to the point where I think I tried like 20 different kinds of diets, like all the different diets, and was constantly living in this stressed out mode of trying to be good enough in my own skin. And what happened was in 2016, I remember I had been dieting for probably 7 or 8 months straight, finally got to my goal weight, which was my pre-pregnancy weight. I was like, then I'm going to be happy. I just know it. I know I'm going to just feel so much better about my life and myself. And I got to that goal weight, looked down at the scale, looked up at my naked body in the mirror, and I was just like, all the voices were still there. I was still like, ew, well, you still have stretch marks, you still have cellulite, you still have blah, blah, blah. You know, it's just like, they didn't go away. The voices were still there of like, you're not good enough. You're still a failure. You tried all that time, and look at you now. Like, why are you celebrating this? And so within seconds of reaching a goal that I'd been working on for like 5 years, I still felt like a failure. And it was that was my aha moment, when I consider it my Grinch moment. On the morning of Christmas morning, after he'd stolen and done all the things that he thought for sure would, prove that Christmas was a hoax. His heart grew three sizes that day. And for me, it was like, oh my goodness, maybe happiness is not found in a number. Maybe it's not found in a dress size or a weight or a bank account number or all the other things that we externally look for that validation. And so that started me on a journey of personal development and self-help. And I started studying like crazy happiness and stress, because those were happiness I really wanted, and I wanted to get rid of stress. And it took me on this journey, and I've been doing that ever since 2016. In 2018, I started writing my book. Last year, I published it, and I'll just show you guys really quick. It's called The 10-Minute Refresh for Moms, Less Stress, More Joy. And in there, I share 10 habits that I found that you can do in 10 minutes or less a day. Because for moms, it's really important that we don't get so, that we feel like we never have enough time, right, to take care of ourselves, to put ourselves on the front of our burner instead of on the back burner. And for me, it was like I kept waiting for someday. Someday I'd lose the weight and I'd feel happy, but I lost the weight and I wasn't happy. And then so I started this journey, and it started me like opening up to different things. Personal development was definitely one of them, like realizing that I had to put myself first and take care of myself, because when I did, I started feeling happier. And I started feeling like, oh my goodness, we don't have to pour from an empty cup as a mom. In fact, when we fill our cup first, we can overflow into the kids and the people in our lives to a point where we feel so much happier, and they feel happier to be around us. So I think so many of us are trying so hard to be people pleasers and meet everybody else's needs but our own. And when we do that, everyone around us suffers instead of feeling good that we're serving them. They feel like maybe resentful about it, or they feel like they're, we're being taken for granted, or all these things. So that's when I started my journey. I started writing my book. And then right after that, my dad died. And it was like the clincher of my story. It was like I was in this grand momentum, and I wanted to share my story, but I was too scared. Like I had just been writing blog posts at that point. It wasn't really my book yet. Didn't really know what my mission was going to be. But my dad's death was sudden and unexpected and really tragic. And what I say now is that my dad's death brought me back to life. It resurrected the dreamer inside me. It gave me permission to become the person that I wanted to be now, rather than waiting for someday, because I found out that someday might never come. Yeah. Because for my dad, he had lived his whole life for his work, and he was just on the verge of being able to retire within the next few years and finally get to be the grandpa and the dad that he always said he'd be, because he hadn't. He had put us like on the back burner saying, I'll come visit you. I'll come do that, And luckily in the last 2 years of his life, he was able to come visit my family for the first time in 14 years. He was able to see us twice. And it was like we were finally getting to that point where, yay, I'm going to have my dad. I was so excited. And then, bam, I lost him. And for me, that was like the wake-up call that, oh my goodness, I cannot keep waiting to live my life. I can't keep waiting to share my story, because there are people out there that need the answers that I have, and I can't sleep at night knowing that they're suffering with something that I could easily share. So that's where my book came from. That's where my More Than Moms Facebook group came from. And from there, I've just kind of morphed and evolved and continue to learn more every day, to the point where I'm even a completely different person than when I wrote my book. So there's my story in a nutshell.
Yeah, because it's like, if we really have the power and we have the message in our heart, why would we not share it? And yeah, all of those feelings of not being good enough and not having the self-worth and the self-confidence, like that just makes our message so much more real and so much more vulnerable. But still, it takes a lot of courage to get out there and say it. I mean, there's a lot of things I want to share about my stories that I haven't had the courage to do yet. So, yeah. And a lot of things I have, but it's yeah, it's like, you know, that it would help people if you just could say it.
Yes. And you know, the funny thing with that is that after I published my book, this was like over a year ago now. No, actually a year this week, it'll be a year since I published my book. And I immediately got a 1-star review, like within the first week or two. And the lady didn't even get within, like, after 2 chapters before she just went on there and railed about how I should have been put into CPS and, you know, all these things, all this hate speech about moms. And it was really good. It was a really good blessing for me. But at the time, it caused me to go kind of into a whirlwind of, oh my goodness, my book's not good enough. All I did was try to help people, and here it is hurting somebody out there. And then it triggered another friend within another month. And she was thinking that I was talking about her when I was talking about taking pills for relief, and had nothing to do with her. It had to do with my husband's like patients that were addicted to things that, you know. And for me, it was like I was being misread and like I had found that I was hurting people more than helping. So for a while, I put my book on the back burner. I put all my marketing on the back burner. And for a long time, that just caused me to even go more within and to say, why am I triggering these people, or why am I feeling triggered when they're triggered? And it's been like this really good emotional roller coaster, which I think every entrepreneur, we go through this. We go through moments of, we feel really good about ourselves, and then all of a sudden we're feeling awful, like a failure, like we're not good enough, we shouldn't do that. And I definitely felt that with my book when it first got out there and that started happening. And I literally haven't done much with it because I've moved on and I've started doing other things like creating funnels and different programs and stuff to help people. But what I've learned is, as a result of that, and as a result of kind of outgrowing who I used to be, which was very much a very Christian, very in the box kind of person. I did not think outside of the box. I did not think of other people outside of my religion. I was very judgmental and very self-righteous. But I didn't know that. I thought I was one of the most loving, unconditionally loving people out there, and I really was. But if people didn't believe the same way as me, or if they didn't dress the same way, or if they had tattoos, or if they smoked, or even if they drank alcohol, I judged them. And then I felt justified in that, because that's what I was taught to feel. I was taught that, you know, that was okay. And then over the course of those 2 years, the last 2 years, it got to the point where I felt so guilty going to church and not feeling like I belonged there anymore, like I didn't believe that anymore, that I actually contracted a thing in my throat, that I was not able to breathe for 2 years. Everyone thought I had asthma. They thought that there was something like allergy wise or something, but I got tested for allergies and it wasn't that. I had no allergies whatsoever. And then I got tested for asthma, but I was pregnant with my 6th baby came. She's now 16 months old. But during that whole 2 years of like being pregnant with her all the way up until she was like 5 months old, there were 0 answers. It was just like test after test, and they couldn't really do much when I was pregnant or right after. But what it came down to, I just found out in July, was that I had something in my throat that's called idiopathic subglottic stenosis, which is extremely rare condition, which basically means your throat, instead of being like wide open like a hole, becomes constricted. So I was breathing through like the size of a straw. And you could tell, like every other breath I tried to make, it was like, like really labored breathing. Wow. And got to the point where I had to have surgery on it, but I didn't know. I didn't know it was in my throat. I just thought it was some kind of breathing issue. And I went to the doctor. I finally went to a different doctor, like an ENT instead of the asthma or allergy guy. And he was like freaking out. Literally thought that night that I was on my deathbed. He said, "You're going to have to go to a specialist tomorrow. I've never seen anything like this in my 40 years of practice, except for a little boy that was 12 and had his windpipe crushed in an accident, like a car accident." He's like, "That's the only thing I've ever seen anything like this." And I was like, "What?" So I went to the specialist the next day. But that night,
how did he know that? Did he look at some kind of an x-ray or something?
He made me go straight from his office to get a CAT scan that day. Wow. He wouldn't let me leave until, I think it was a CAT scan, or maybe it was a ultrasound. It was something where he could look inside. Mm-hmm. And that night, and he was like, he literally had me having visions that night of being on a breathing tube. And like, I'm like envisioning not being able to hold my baby because she'd be taking the air out of my, my throat, you know? Like, I was so scared. I went to bed, I went home that night and started writing letters to all my kids and all my family, you know, like, what if tomorrow is my last day? And that was like really my soul's wake up call. And what I've learned since then is that our bodies and our souls are way ahead of our minds sometimes, or we're ahead of our consciousness, our awareness. And for me, I was so scared to speak my truth. I was so afraid of leaving my religion, of telling the people that I love the most in my life that I no longer believe that way or no longer resonated with all the teachings, that my soul had to get to the point where it suffocated me for me to wake up, for me to say, oh my goodness, it's time for me to speak my truth. So this has been like a recent journey, but it's been so powerful to be able to share that story and say, you're not alone in that fear. When you're afraid to speak your truth and share your story, you're not alone. And I'm going to cry because it's really emotional when you come to believe in yourself so much that you no longer fear what other people think of you. When you're no longer afraid to share this radiating joy and light that you have inside because of what somebody else might say, or because of fear of failure or fear of rejection. All these fears that are so normal for so many of us, even fear of success. That's been a big one for a lot of people. And fear of imposter syndrome, you know, feeling like, what if I get found out? What if they know, like, what if I do put my business out there and people will find out that I'm not all I say I am, or whatever it is that your fear is. Facing those fears and learning to dance with them and recognize them as some of your best friends, because those fears are really what open us up to who we really are, help us recognize our greatness, and help us recognize our own personal worth that other people really need to hear in order to break through from their glass ceiling. Like for me, that glass ceiling was, everybody else is going to hate me. People are going to leave my group. People are going to, you know, not like what I write or whatever. And now I can freely write. I can freely speak my mind, and it feels so good. It feels so freeing. Like I'm just liberated from that box. I'm liberated from that fear. And I'm excited every day to wake up and just share.
That's amazing. When you say your fear can be your best friends, what do you mean by that? Like in relation to your fear teaching you more about yourself, or how did you mean that?
Yeah, like your fear can become something that when you look at it and observe what it's really teaching you, it can become something that changes the trajectory of your life. Rather than fearing fear, you can embrace it and say, that's where I'm supposed to go. It's just like that Frozen 2, I just watched it a few months ago, and it was like, I was bawling my eyes out because I was like, this is my story. Like, into the unknown. Yes, we're supposed to go into the unknown. We're supposed to enter that deep, dark cave inside of our soul that our fear is beckoning to us to come there. And then we'll find ourselves and we'll be able to grow ourselves, step into your power. Like that song, I was just like, I can't listen to it now without like, I'm obviously a little bit of a crybaby anyway. You've already noticed that.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I just watched that, and I actually, like, there's a band that I really like that I was going to recommend that he cover that song. It's so powerful. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
So the opposite of fear is love. So
Yeah.
kind of embracing that fear with love and saying, what can I learn more about myself? Or how can I learn more about myself with this fear? So what happened with your throat then? What happened?
So I went the next day, and the specialist listened to me breathe for about 2 seconds, and he was like, you have idiopathic subglottic stenosis. And I was like, what? And apparently only 1 in every 500,000 people get it. So it's pretty rare. And it's usually something that's either caused from pregnancy or other unknown things. It's pretty unknown. Idiopathic means unknown source, right? And what happened for me was I remembered 2 years ago, 2017, I went to a Dr. Joe Dispenza 7-day week-long retreat in Cancun, Mexico with my husband. Amazing. I love Dr. Joe.
So that's what opened your mind.
Well, for me, this was before, that was a year before. I didn't have a breathing problem when I went to that retreat, okay? And when I went there, they have you get in groups of 50 people. There's like thousands of people, and you get
I'm obsessed, by the way. I love Joe Dispenza.
Well, we need to be besties then. But
yeah,
they had small groups where we got together at the end of every night, and we got to talk about what we learned or talk about breakthrough moments or those kind of things, right? And at the end of the week, we had 50 people in our group, and 17 of the women, not including myself, talked about having problems in their throat chakra. They said they had thyroid issues. They had sore throats all the time. They had an inability to speak their truth because of violence or something that had happened that made them scared to death to talk freely, right? And at that time I thought, oh, that's really sad for them. Like, I've never had that problem. It didn't resonate with me. But I learned about the throat chakra, and I learned that the throat right here represents your ability to speak your truth.
Right.
So that was like the seed planted of what that means, right? So when I went to that doctor and he told me it was right here in my throat, I was like, oh my goodness, this is not an issue that my pregnancy caused or anything else caused. Like, this right here is my soul's message to me to wake up and speak your truth, Nicole. Like, come on. Do I really have to suffocate you? Like, there was a time right before the surgery where, because it took out 6 weeks after I went to the doctor to be able to get surgery. But in those 6 weeks, it got so bad, Chelsea, that I couldn't walk from my room to my bathroom without like having to wait a half an hour to get a whole breath in my body.
Oh my God.
I would lay there in my bed crying, but scared to cry because that made it even harder to breathe. And trying to tell my husband, like, I can't get a full breath right now. Like, I can't do it, like, for hours. Like, I would sit there, like, I could not get all the air that my body needed to feel alive. Like, I was just literally like this woman just laying, I'm here in my 40s, at 40 years old, laying in my bed like a crippled woman, not being able to breathe. And I was scared to death, but I knew that I had to speak my truth. So I got my surgery, and I like immediately started sharing more Facebook Live videos and blog posts, but it still took me several months, and I still have some scratchiness, and I still have to like clear my throat a lot because it's still coming out. I'm still learning more about myself and more about my mission and who I'm supposed to be helping. And I'm morphing and I'm becoming different to the point where, like, even with my More Than Moms group, I'm like, maybe that's not the people I'm supposed to be serving anymore. Maybe I'm supposed to be helping these people instead. And so that's where I'm headed now. Like, my husband and I have just opened a new Facebook group. We know that we're teaching people that have a message, that have a voice, but that are too afraid to share it. That's like,
why are you starting a new group?
Because I want it to be so niched down that people know that that's where they go. With my More Than Moms group, it's been a lovely place, and I love it, and I might keep it, I might not. I'm still debating what to do with it. But it's like all the things for moms, like all over the place. So I really want this to be the place where people go and they know this is where I can go when I need to know how to have self-love, when I need to get over my fear, and where I can go to have a community where I can share. Like, we're going to give people the opportunity to do Facebook Lives once a week so they can practice sharing their story in a very safe, loving environment where they can not have any judgment, not have any conditions placed upon their story, and they can practice. Because for us, it's really important to find a community of people that are like-minded, people that are spiritually open, people that know that they have something inside that they're just dying to share, but they just don't know where, and they don't know how, and they don't feel good enough yet. That's like my newest passion, is just helping people speak their truth, because that was something I struggled with for so long, that I know that once people do, their whole lives will change, and it's so exciting to me.
So is that the main purpose, to speak their truth? That's the new group?
Yeah, we call it we've changed the name a few times, but right now we're calling it Radical Self-Love. And
self-love.
Radical Self-Love. And it's about I can't remember the freaking words. Something about grow your confidence, share your light, something about shining your light. I'm obviously selling this really well. I'm not a marketer. But it's all about helping people grow out of their self-doubts, their limitations, and speak their truth, shine their light, share their message, so they have a place where they can, get their wheel running with their business and with their mindset, mostly mindset, just like overcoming that doubt and fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough, fear of their business failing, because failure doesn't exist in my world anymore. Failure I see as huge stepping stones and learning opportunities to make us grow and become better. And our mountain is climbed one failure at a time. They're the stepping stones that get us to the top of the mountain. And then when we get to the top, there's going to be another mountain. There always is. It's like, all right, but for me, that's where the fun in the journey is, like learning all these things and helping yourself grow and become a better version of yourself every day is what creates that confidence. It's what helps you become a better version. You can't do it without failing.
So good. And it's just so amazing that, okay, so I don't tell any of the other, haven't told you what any of the interviews have been about so far, but each one, like the last 3, have all said failures are stepping stones. Like that has come up in every interview that I've done. And it's just, I think maybe it's kind of like reiteration for a lot of people, but especially for me, like it's just, remembering that and sharing your me is a form of self-love, because, here we tell ourselves all these mean things, and, me when I have my like judgmental thoughts when I look in the mirror, because, I'm bigger than I want to be. And, just being able to share my story, it's almost like, I guess I don't know what I'm saying here, but it's almost like you're okay with yourself. Like you're accepting of yourself enough to put your story out there. So in a way, it's like I accept myself. This is my story, and in that, I'm showing love to myself. And others. You're setting an example for others by putting that out there for them to love themselves too. I love that. I love that message.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the bottom line. You hit it right there on the nail. What's the word? Hit the nail on the head. Because if you can come to a place where you love and accept yourself all the time, 100%, you're not afraid of what anybody else thinks of you anymore. And it's like this such a liberating thing. Like, oh my goodness, it doesn't matter if I get a 1-star review. That's their problem, not mine. It doesn't matter if nobody buys that course, because I'm learning how to market myself better. And that's okay. All these things that we feel like are so scary become like, oh, I can dance with that. I can have fun with that. And pretty soon I'll be on the other side, and I'll be helping people through that too.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I had a friend of mine stay with me for a while. Her name is Beverly. She's going to be on an interview on this too. And she's like, there is no bad or good. There's only feedback. And because like what you consider would be good, someone else could consider it being bad or right or wrong. There is no right or wrong. There's only feedback.
That was such a huge paradigm shift for me too. Learning that there's no duality. There's like all part of the same stick, that where it depends on where you're looking at. It's your perspective that really depends on if you're feeling like something's bad or good. Because for one person, it could be really good, and another person, it could just be like awful. But you're looking at the same thing just from a different point of view.
Absolutely. So where do you want to go from here? Like, what's on the horizon? I know you're Radical Self-Love. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Radical Self-Love. So you're you're launching that group, and what else is on the horizon for you? Where do you want to go?
Well, in a few weeks on May 11th, we have a Facebook free 5-day challenge that my husband and I are doing called The Journey Within, where we will help people ask the hard questions, diagnose where they are, and figure out what's causing them that fear and what they can do about it. We're going to help them be able to look in the mirror and love what they see. Regardless of their weight or their size, we're going to help them heal that inner child, because that's where all healing begins. Recognizing that on a deep inside internal level, there's something inside of us that needs to heal if we want to move forward. So that's what I'm really excited about.
Called again?
It's called The Journey Within, and it will start May 11th. And
it's a 5-day challenge.
5-day challenge in our Facebook group, Radical Self-Love. I'll give you the link. And then from there, we'll start our program that will help people dive really deep. I think we're calling it the deep dive into radical self-love, where they can get the help that they need to really be able to get their story out there without fearing, with having a place that they know that they're supported and loved.
That's awesome.
Thanks. I'm really excited about it.
That's great. That's great. That's going to be really good. That's going to help a lot of people. Where are you located? I'm just wondering now. Where are you located?
I'm in small town Ohio, the very southeast corner in a little town called Gallipolis.
Okay.
Nobody's heard of it. Very few people have heard of it. But I've lived all over the place. This is actually the first place that I've lived for longer than, I think, 5 years. No, I guess 7 years. I grew up mostly in the East Coast or West Coast, the Pacific Northwest. Oregon was my main place in high school and stuff, but I've lived all over the place. Like, I think there's over 13 states now and 2 countries and all sorts, like over 30 houses. So I've been all over the place, but we're here.
Wow.
I know.
Good.
Lots of moving, but
You're going to stay there for a while? Is that what you said?
Yeah, we're planning on staying here for a while.
Good. Do you have a kid number 7?
Oh, girl. No, don't go there.
Are you done?
You know what? Kid number 6 didn't come until kid number 5 was 8 years old. So she was a big, massive surprise. Something that we've been praying about for a long time and wanting, but that's a funny story in and of itself. She didn't come until after I'd given up on the idea of having another child. I started applying for all these online classes and entrepreneur things because I was like, oh, my youngest is now in kindergarten. What do I do with myself? I guess I'll reinvent, So I signed up for all these things and got all excited, started writing my book, and then boom, got pregnant. So yeah, that was fun. But now she's 16
I know the feeling with that.
I was able to write my book, publish my book, and do all these other entrepreneurial ventures while pregnant and with the baby. So if you have a dream and you have this desire within to make a difference and to share what you've learned, there's nothing that can stop you but you. Right. And for me, I was the only thing in my own way, like for so long. And my dad's death really just opened me up to the fact that I need to do this now. If I want to leave a legacy in this world, I can't keep waiting for someday because it might not come. I need to seize the day today, and I need to help people. I came here to help people. Like, I came here to be a light worker, to be able to open people up to their own greatness and help them recognize that they have something to give. We all do. We all have a unique superpower that's just buried and latent and inside of us all along, just like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. We all have it. It's just recognizing that and unlayering all the programming and crap we've been taught all our lives to break free. So that's what I like to do.
Absolutely. You're speaking my language. That's exactly what my book is about. It's called Be a Life Breather, and it's about breathing life into others and, spreading love and like speaking life and being able to show people strength and show people how they rise above and how people can make a difference. And If you can help yourself, then you can help more people, you know, if you elevate yourself. So what message would you share with moms who are at that point where, you know, it's stressful, but they have this dream in their heart? They're currently dependent on their husband's income, taking care of the kids at home, but they want that freedom. They want to be able to earn money from their own home, and they want to get started, and it's kind of like they don't know where to start.
Oh my goodness. Start with yourself. Start with, first of all, accepting that you are good enough. You have what it takes, and you're just a skill set away. Skill sets are easily obtainable. You can find them for free on Google. You can find them for, you know, paid groups, paid courses. I've taken so many of them. I've started a blog. I've started a t-shirt store online. I've written a book, and I've created online courses, and now I'm launching my program. And I'm also a network marketer. So like, the more sources of income, and especially passive income, that you can acquire into your life, the more freedom that you're going to have. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes work. And you can do it in 10 minutes a day. You really can. It just takes that initiative, that belief in yourself. That's the first thing for me, is overcoming your own self-doubt, overcoming the thought or the belief that you're not worthy of that time, overcoming the lie that self-care is selfish. It's so not selfish. And if you have this desire to free your husband from his 9-to-5, or to help supplement that income, or to help whatever, to just make enough money to go to Disneyland, or whatever it is that you desire, it is absolutely within your reach. And it's easier than you think. I think we kind of put these huge dreams in such a big place in our minds that we make them impossible. But all you got to do is make that big dream, break it up into smaller big dreams, medium-sized dreams, and then make them smaller, and then get to bite-sized mini micro actions you can take, and take them. Start taking them one day at a time, one step at a time, one failure at a time, until all of a sudden you're at the medium one. You're like, hey, that wasn't too hard. I think I'll do the other medium one. Then you got them all, and then boom, all of a sudden you got you got that big dream, and then you got a bigger dream coming on the way, because we never stop growing and stop learning.
Exactly. That's beautiful.
It all starts with you believing in you. I actually just heard something the other day that I loved. I don't know if you've heard of Les Brown, but I love Les Brown. And he said, I don't know if it was his quote or somebody else that he was interviewing, but he said, how can you tell if somebody's going to be successful? And he said, oh, you can tell right away. If you can tell if somebody's going to be successful or not, depending on if they believe in themselves. Period. That's all. So if you want to help believing in yourself, recognizing your own worth, getting over those doubts and self-fears, I'm your girl. I can help you with that.
That's right. And he says, having the hunger, hunger to be able to, to want it. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's right.
Awesome. Okay. So how do they get in touch with you one more time if you want to connect with Miss Nicole Clark?
Well, you can look up my new Facebook group. I'll also give you a link. It's going to be go.chooseanamazinglife.com/challenge, and that will get you into our free 5-day challenge on May 11th. And
one more time.
go.chooseanamazinglife.com/challenge. And if you can't find that, then go to Facebook and search under groups, under Radical Self-Love or Up Level with the Clarks.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Radical Self-Love, and go.chooseanamazinglife.com/challenge. Awesome. And your 5-day challenge starts when again?
May 11th.
May 11th.
I think I think we said 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll go live. Yeah, and if you can't remember those, just our blog is chooseanamazinglife.com. That's easy to remember.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and it's great to know that we have so much in common. I knew I wanted to connect with you, and now I know why.
meeting more like-minded people and being able to share my story and connect with people. So thank you.
And I love your energy. All right, Nicole, you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you too. We'll talk later.